don't know if everybody can get to Challenger, but I know for a fact anybody can get to Masters. Welcome to today's video where we're going to cover the topic of jungle tracking and pathing. As always, if you guys are new around here, my name is WillieP. I maintain Masters 100% of the time, and every now and then on our high-low pushes, we crack into Grandmasters and Challenger. The topic of jungle tracking is not only important for a jungler, but also my laner friends. This video is going to give you everything you need to know exactly how to track it. I'm going to give you the cheat code to where you don't even have to think about it. You'll know when you see them on a Raptors where they're going to be for the first 5 minutes of the game. If you find yourself disagreeing in any way, do me a huge favor and just leave a comment telling me where you disagree and why, or how I can challenge my perspective and improve the video. If you dislike the video, it'll hurt me more than it helps you. Let's jump in. What we're about to go through today, I promise almost 90% of Masters players probably do not know. Jungle tracking and pathing is really important because it's one of those things that truly nobody takes the time to learn. As a laner, this will give you a leg up. This will let you know when you can go for a trade and all in, whether or not your flash being town is important, and it'll tell you literally where the jungler will be for the next 5 minutes so you can just go on autopilot and focus on trading. For junglers, this lets you know how to fine-tune your decision making to where instead of saying, I'm not good enough and my fingers aren't good enough, you can just say, I wasn't at the right place at the right time because I missed some critical information that the jungler told me on where they were going to be in the next 2 minutes. There are really only 5 clear paths you guys need to know about, and I promise as soon as we go through them here, you'll never have to think about them again. You might see different stuff and strange stuff in solo queue, but I promise if the enemy jungler is not sticking to one of these 5 clear paths, they're most likely setting behind their experience more than they realize, even if they're getting kills on ganks. Assuming you're red side, there are 2 types of level 3 ganks that you're going to see. The first is a Raptors to red to Krugs to a side lane. The equivalent on blue side, of course, is you can do Wolves to Gromp to blue to a side lane. The other one that's really popular is you'll actually see blue to Gromp to red to gank the side lane, or red to blue to Gromp to gank a side lane. It's kind of an older clear path. Level 3 ganking, and we'll show you guys in a second here. I've got a tier chart we'll go through. Certain champions level 3 gank a lot. If you are against certain champions, you can start to think about these 2 clear paths, and if you get a word on either their buff or their Raptors, it'll tell you very quickly whether or not you're going to get level 3 ganks, and especially if you're somebody that can die really easily level 3, certain champions like Elise, for instance, can kill you very, very easily at that level 3 spike. These level 3 ganks will usually happen between 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and it'll either be top or mid. For instance, Shaco players, a lot of the times what they'll do is they'll set up their boxes and then gank mid on their way to the other side of the quadrant. This happens at 2 minutes and 2 minutes and 15 seconds usually. The 4-camp gank is very popular amongst the Iverns and Nunus and stuff like that of the world. What it looks like is essentially you do 4 camps, so you come to like your Wolves or your Raptors, depending on the side of the map you're on, and then you just break off the full clear and usually go gank mid. This happens especially if the mid lane is shoving in. A lot of the times at 2 minutes and 40 seconds, you'll see this happen. 6 camp clears are very popular. This is just when you start a buff, and if you think about it, you start a buff and then you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 camps. That's why it's called a 6 camp clear. And then you've also got your blue buff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Junglers that tend to start a buff will usually always start a buff one side of the map or the other, and then just path to the side of the map they want to gank. At 3 minutes to 3 minutes and 30 seconds, depending on the jungler, is when these camps will get finished, or these clear paths will get finished. And this is when all 3 lanes, top, mid, and bot, need to be aware that they could be open to getting ganked, because again, this 3 minute to 3 minute and 30 second is when usually all junglers are done with their clear paths. The 8 camp clear is often called the Raptor Super Start or the Wolf Super Start. It's where you do Raptors to Krugs to red to Wolves to Gromp blue. That's 6 camps, and then you come up to your 4 minute Raptors. Since you started a non-buff camp, these camps spawn quicker than your buff, and so this comes up at 4 minutes. Your Krugs come up at 4:15. You get a natural 15-second lead over other champions that did start their buff, because if somebody, for instance, did a blue Grump, this Grump will respawn at 4:15. You're already farming your Raptors and getting on with your next clear. It is how you can literally just give yourself a 15 to 20-second lead, especially if the enemy jungler started a buff and you have that information for sure. The opposite, of course, is the Wolf Start, where you do Wolf, Gromp blue, Raptors, Krugs red. That's 6 camps. Then you come back into your 4 minute Wolves into your Gromp, and that's your 8 camps there. The 9 camp clear is what I like to call the Shyvana clear. It's where you do your Raptors to Wolves to Gromp to blue, and then up to your red to your Krugs, or the other side of the map is just Wolves to Raptors to Krugs to red to blue to Grump. And you might ask, why would you ever set your clear path up this way? It's because it's even greedier than a Raptor start. If you think about it, then you come down and do a 3-minute 30 crab, and then you've got 3 camps coming up instead of 2. So you get even more camps, and even if you don't get this crab, you will guarantee to hit level 5 once you finish your Grump. So if you know you can't go out and river and your team is terrible early game, this is how you hit level 5 without ever getting a crab. In addition, it puts you bot side at 4 minutes and 50 seconds or so, level 5. You want to go for a dragon without spending gold, you can, especially again if you know the enemy jungler is somebody that paths top. This is my cheat sheet to the tier graph essentially for junglers. If I missed anybody, you can let me know, but I just went to a tier graph maker and I went through all the champions that I consider to be junglers. I'm sure there are some that are not listed here. In general, a few things I want to say. If champions start red, they can also start blue. So these champions easily can flip-flop categories. Secondly, this is my opinion. This is literally just what I've seen the most amount of these type of champions start in the last year over the past 3,000 games or so. This doesn't mean this is where they're going to start every game, but in general, this is what we tend to see. These level 3 gankers are champions that I have seen get on the map extremely early on an extremely consistent basis. Even though champions like Jarvan can level 3 gank, oftentimes I see them full clear or just, play it smart and safe for the first little bit and wait for the other jungle to gank and then go for the counter gank. Raptors and Wolf starters, these guys of course can start either side of the map. They also can tend to invade. Champions like Belvith, I don't know if I got Belvith on here, but Belvith will almost always start Raptors and they can level 1 invade you and that stuff like that. Blue start Andys tend to have very fast clears. These are your Karthus players, your Zed players, your Zyra players. Very, very, very fast clear paths. And then finally, your can start anywhere champions, including my OTP of Udyr. These champions truthfully will start anywhere, and trying to predict where they're going to start is a waste of time. Just get vision up and read them after you see for sure where they started. I can already tell you, scrolling down this list, this list needs to be updated. I didn't make this tier graph, but if I missed any champions, I'm going to give you guys, again, teach a man to fish and he'll fish for the rest of life. Give a man a fish and he'll come back the next day asking. Here's how you think about where the enemy jungle is going to start. If the enemy jungle has got a lot of single target damage, they're most likely a buff starter, and if they've got a lot of AoE, they're probably going to start the Wolves or Raptors. For a scaling champion, they're going to lean into Wolves or Raptors to get experience, or if they want to gank early, they're probably going to do a very fast level 3 camp, or they're going to do a red or a blue start. If the enemy champion or the enemy jungler is somebody that invades a lot, so think of champions like Shaco, Kindred, Kayn, XYZ, oftentimes they'll start your Raptors or the enemy Raptors and then immediately cross river and invade. You've got to be thinking about that as well. If there's anybody on this list I didn't mention, you can ask me in the comment section and I'll get to it. But again, if you just put 2 and 2 together, you should be able to figure it out very quickly. How to counter clear paths. So this is very, very easy. I'm just going to go through quick rock, paper, scissors of these 5 clears we talked about. If you see a 3 camp clear, the best thing to do is your fastest clear path and try and punish them as soon as they go for a gank. So in this case, if you're somebody like Udyr, Udyr's fastest clear path, let's say your blue side, is actually going to be blue. So I would do blue, Grump, Wolves. If I was against somebody like Rek'Sai, and if Rek'Sai did go for a fast level 3 gank top, great. I would just immediately go take his blue and Grump as punishment, and I would immediately get the gold back that he generated top lane if it does turn into a kill. Or if he ganks mid, great. I've got a super fast clear path, and I can just break off my Raptors and come counter gank it. The 4 camp clears of the world. So these are the Nunus, the Iverns, these random junglers that you sometimes will see in solo queue that they just do strange clear paths and then they'll gank you. Usually this happens at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Again, usually the best way to counter these clear paths is just by doing your fastest clear and hovering mid. A very small habit you can build that I built back in the day, I'm now going to pass on to you guys if you're a jungler, is drag out your Wolf camp and your Raptor camp to stand as close to mid lane as possible. So if you're against champions that can gank mid, you can immediately break off and just come counter gank it. Again, best way to counter a 3 camp ganker or a 4 camp ganker is literally just do the fastest clear path whatever champion you're playing can do. For buff starters, so this 6 camp clear, the natural counter to anybody that starts red or blue buff is actually a Raptor or a Wolf start. And if you think about it, it's very simple. It's because you get a 15-second natural built-in lead over anybody that starts this side of the map. The other thing you want to think about is, does your jungle champion beat the enemy jungle champion in the 1v1? So I'll give you an easy example. Think about Udyr versus Lilia level 4. Lilia can kite the crap out of Udyr, and while Udyr can beat a Lilia, it relies on the Lilia making a mistake. Udyr doesn't want to chase a Lilia in the river at level 4. That's just going to be a giant headache, right? So for that reason, if I knew it was a Lilia and I knew she was starting, let's say her red buff for some reason, even though though she usually never does that. If it's a matchup I want to avoid, I would do a Raptor start on this side of the map, so that way I could do an 8 camp clear, and then I would end up on the other side of the map as her, right? She would end up bot, I would end up top, and I've got a 15-second built-in lead because, again, she can't really punish me for the fact that I just got a 15-second lead over her unless I mess up and spend too much time topside or something. If you want to end up on the same side of the map as them, then great, you just do whatever they 8 camp. So in this exact same scenario, we would just do a wolf start and just end up down here, and then she would end up down here, and then you kill her, and then you just go to your 4-minute wolves, and you get a 15-second tempo lead. If you see it's a fellow 8 camp starter, so let's say they start their Raptors or Wolves, and you know it's somebody like Lily or Viego that tends to always do this, you've got 2 options. First is the 9 camp clear. The 9 camp clear is even greedier because, again, it's 9 versus 8. You get an extra bonus camp in. You also get to end up on the opposite side of the map as them. If you see them start Raptors, the 9 camp clear is actually the most OP clear path in the game to counter them, as long as they don't go do your Raptors to your blue buff, as long as you just set up a ward here and you get that information. It's because you get an extra clear path worth of tempo, you completely avoid them, and you get to end up on the side of the map. So if you think about it, they're going to do Raptors, Krugs, reset at about 5 minutes, they'll be walking down. You'll be have started Dragon, they'll probably go into their Wolves, their Gromp, they'll come into Dragon, and you'll already be done. You can also set up a ward right here just to make sure they don't come check on you. Got flash and all this, and it's just a really easy way to punish them as a Raptor start. The second way you can punish a Raptor start is you actually do red Krugs, so you do red to Krugs, and then you path up, and then you go try and gank, and the idea is if the enemy jungler spends too much time bot side, like they go for a gank bot, or they go in a gank on mid, or better yet, you just happen to not see them or whatever, you get to path up, take their 4-minute Raptors. They can't take your 4-minute Raptors because guess what? You didn't start your Raptors. And then they're going to come up here, check at 4:15, see that you've already taken them, and then you just go down and do your 4:20 Krug. Usually you reset, spend gold, and then just full clear back up. There's a third and bonus way you can counter a Raptor clear path, and it's kind of tricky, but the other way you do it is you just do a full blue clear. They end up coming down here, and instead of going out to crab at 3:30, you reset at 3:20, spend your gold, run up here, and then you go fight for both top crab and their 4-minute Raptors with your gold spent. Because most of these Raptor start Andes are going to do this bot crab and then walk straight over to top crab without spending gold, and then you get to go fight them on their Raptor pit with gold spend, which if you've seen my recall timing video is literally how you generate leads. Finally, the 9 camp clear. If you do happen to play against a Shyvana or somebody like this, or you happen to see this super weird clear path, you now know what the point of the clear path is. And all you have to do to counter it is just ward the 5-minute dragon and go kill them on the 5-minute dragon. There's really no way to shut down the 9 camp clear outside of maybe doing like a blue over to their red and Krugs and then full clearing down. That's the perfect way to do it. But again, you usually don't get this information, and it's hard to track this information unless you get a really good level 1 ward deep in their like Raptor bush or whatever. The best way to counter it is just put a ward in the dragon pit and go kill them when they start the dragon. Finally, just real quickly, how do you detect bad pathing and how do you punish it? Bad pathing is really easy to see. If the enemy champion or the enemy jungle has something they want to go to, but their camps are have a conflict of interest. In other words, they have their camps coming up on the wrong side of the map as where they want to move. That is how bad pathing develops. Usually, helping the team first is the better play. So don't go take the enemy jungle camps if you know the enemy jungle is pathing to the other side of the map to dive your team. Go counter dive. But if you know there's no way in heck you're going to make it up there in time, and even if you do show up, it's kind of futile, there's really no reason to be there, go punish the pathing and just trade the camps as much as you can. The team play is always worth more. Additionally, this is super obvious for a lot of us jungle players, but if the enemy jungle is topside, go take the bot side objective if you've got an easy way out. I tell people usually you need 2 checkboxes in order to do an objective. So the enemy champ jungler being top is 1 checkbox. You're either going to want mid prio, your bot slow pushing in, you're going to want, resource advantage in one lane or the other. But if you have a second checkbox, that jungle being on the wrong side of the map is an immediate green flag to go take an objective on the other side of the map. And then any scaling jungler out there, so think of champions like Gwen or Skarner. If these champions start ganking too much, you should just be living in their jungler and killing them because they're extremely weak early game. Bad pathing also is kind of tied to whether or not your champions scale. Champions that are early game reliant, like Xin Zhao, should be ganking more than farming. In my opinion, some people might disagree with that. I think champions like Skarner and Gwyn should lean more into kind of a reactionary farm first, react second play style. That's why, again, the type of punishment that you do depends. The enemy Xin Zhao is spam ganking. Oftentimes, spam counter ganking is going to be a better option than trying to take his camps away, because even if you take a bunch of camps away, he's Xin Zhao at level 7 with a bunch of gold. He's still going to kill you, right? That's all for my video. I know that this is kind of ranty, but I was trying to think of a better way to do the video, and I really couldn't. Again, just feel free to screenshot this and just kind of think to yourself of any champion we missed, kind of how to go about and think about where they start and why. But other than that, I appreciate you guys. We've got 30 to 40 videos going to be lined up for this series. We've already got 4 or 5 made. Did enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and you guys can go check out the other series. I hope to see you in the next one. Then, as always, thank you for the recent support. We're a small content creator trying to grow. Appreciate everybody showing up to the job. I'll keep showing up to my job. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Dang.
Call me so I can make it juicy for ya.